It's Monday, June 20. In the headlines, $76 million crime management project launched. Regionally, Guyana to lift COVID testing requirement for passengers. And in sports, West Indies won up against Bangladesh. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I am Simone Absalom Gill. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, who is bidding to become the first Jamaican to head the Commonwealth Secretariat, is now in Miranda for the 2022 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. She is supported by a delegation led by Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Leaders from more than 50 countries have gathered in Kigali, Rwanda for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, the highlight of which will be the decision on who will be the next Secretary General. Although the decision is normally made by consensus, it is expected that it will be put to a vote on this occasion, with the incumbent, Baroness Patricia Scotland, expected to be challenged by two other candidates, Senator Johnson-Smith and Sir Lakoba Italie of Tuvalu. The result of the Secretary General election is expected to be announced before the end of the meeting on June 25. $76 million is being invested in a crime management project. The project, which is also known as Salient, was launched at the Jamaica Evangelistic Center in Norwood, St. James on Friday. Salient, which is in its pilot stage, is a partnership between United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the Ministry of National Security. Salient is geared towards reducing firearm-related violence by dismantling the factors that make it possible for guns to come into Jamaica and end up in the hands of criminals. United Nations Development Programme resident representative in Jamaica, Denise Antonio, says even with the heavy monetary investment, a total change of mindset is needed among Jamaicans in order for the program to work.
And this will form part of this work that we're doing here to conduct the audit. But the audit will not be successful if we don't have the participation of the communities. We need your full participation so that we get the right information and be able to get the work done. My brothers and sisters, we are paying a high price for crime and violence in this country. In 2021, the data shows that nearly 1,464 persons were murdered in Jamaica from homicide. This was the highest homicide rate in Latin America and Caribbean. It can't happen. We need to do something about it. Crime has an impact on the economy. It has an impact on development. It has an impact on the living standards, and Jamaicans deserve better.
In addition to the Norwood community, the program will also benefit residents of Denham Town in Kingston, which has also had its own history of violent crimes. The program is particularly needed as Jamaica has so far recorded 674 murders up to June 16, which is 12 more murders than had been recorded during the corresponding period last year. To date, there have been 531 shootings on record across the country. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang, Member of Parliament for St. James Northwestern, where Norwood is located, says the launch in the community was very meaningful for him.
So it's good to see this program come here because it represents, in a sense, the microcosm of Jamaica. It's largely a working people community. It doesn't have the extreme of poverty that we have in section of the corporate area, and therefore it will be a good measurement of some of the causes of violence in this country, because that's what we are faced with, an extreme level of violence. The project is seeking, doing an audit, will seek to identify some of the root causes and begin to look at how we can resolve some of them.
Online applications are now open on the Student Loan Bureau's website. Prospective borrowers can now apply through the SLB's customer portal, which allows the Bureau to process the loans electronically, eliminating the need for persons to physically visit the office. Deputy Executive Director at the SLB, Charmaine Rose Anderson, says, quote, "Our customers, which include our students and guarantors, can submit their application and guarantor information all on the same portal," end quote. She adds, quote, "If I am guaranteeing a loan for you, I do not need to give you my personal information. I should just go on and submit all of that information as a guarantor without getting the student into my personal space," end quote. She notes that persons will also be able to track their applications. Among the features of the portal is that it allows for the SLB to connect with third parties to confirm the accuracy of the information being submitted by the applicant, such as obtaining evidence of the student's acceptance and registration from universities. Work and legacy of Jamaicans must be saved and highlighted. Words from Prime Minister Andrew Holness as he officially opened the Cecil Cooper Foundation on Friday at the Olympia Gallery in St. Andrew.
In our 60th year of independence, it is important that we honor our icons in all fields and that our children know of them and are inspired by them. Cecil is one of our Jamaican icons that we must at all times honor and celebrate. I take note of the admonitions made that the government of Jamaica should spend more on art, that the pursuit of art can have positive social impacts. And I would like to point out, it may not be widely known, that in our pursuit of security, and indeed in the use of the national security budget, the Minister of Security reminded me that last year we spent significant resources on the youth orchestra, funding students to learn classical music in downtown Kingston. And I believe it may very well be, Minister, a program that we will have to expand nationally.
Cecil Cooper was a renowned and accomplished painter, artist and educator who began his career as a fine artist and exhibitor in galleries in New York, United States. After his return to Jamaica in 1980, he later headed the painting department at his alma mater, the then Jamaica School of Art, now Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. Also speaking at the launch was the chairman of the foundation and wife of Cecil Cooper, Rose Bennett Cooper. She notes that one of the most important things that mattered to him was his students.
Cecil, as a teacher at the Edna Manley College, by a different name at that time, was so invested in his students that he had a habit of saying to his friends, "I have a student, who they're doing very good work. Why don't you come and have a look?" But beware, because when you go to have a look, you are not going to leave without having spent some money. And the reason why Cecil did this is to make sure that his students, when they faltered, when they were low on funds, that there was a way that he could have his friends, those that he knew, invest in them. Fast forward, Cecil retires. And upon retiring, one of the things he mentioned very often is that he would love to have some kind of scholarship in place, something in place, so that the students could continue to benefit from that. And that, in a sense, is the thread, the germ of the idea for the scholarship fund that we are establishing in Cecil's name.
Those who were in attendance were treated to a video tribute of Cecil's life, a dance piece and music from the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. Patron of the event, Juliet Holness, says that associating with this foundation was a no-brainer.
It is so important, the visual and performing arts. And because of my own love for Cecil, I knew it was important to be a part of anything that would keep and memorialize the work, the excellent work of this fabulous, amazing, patriotic, and extremely talented Jamaican. When I looked around we often have so many foundations that are near and dear to my own heart in terms of education, but very few that think about the arts. And so tonight, we are doing 3 things because Rose doesn't allow the team to focus on only a few things.
The foundation and exhibition were launched on his birthday, June 17. A marketing study to strategically expand Jamaica's coffee export markets globally while consolidating the traditional markets of Japan, the United States and Europe has been commissioned by stakeholders in Jamaica's coffee sector. The study also looks at ways to grow the demand for Jamaican coffee locally and across the Caribbean. Marlon Samuels has more in this report.
Currently, 70% of Jamaica's Blue Mountain coffee is exported to Japan, 20% to the United States and 10% to Europe. Millions of dollars are being invested to increase the production, prosperity and resilience of Jamaica's coffee industry. Funds have also been invested on a marketing study. The study looks at the best ways to expand Jamaica's coffee export in traditional markets and the Caribbean. It will also examine ways to grow demand for the flavorful brew locally, though the cost of enjoying a cup has risen.
So we are a tea drinking country. But listen, we have to get our Jamaican coffee drinkers to engage in legendary luxury, the fantastic experience. Like in Japan, they call it, we label the Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee the king of coffees and the winning bean. So we are now engaging the process along the value chain. A number of our members are roasters. We are now engaging the hotels to have Jamaican blended coffee in the hotels. We're also opening more coffee shops, and we are promoting partnerships with a number of retailers, a number of supermarkets to have the coffee available on their retail counters. So the Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee Festival is one such event that we are using to promote the Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee locally. We're also introducing tours.
Traditionally, Jamaica's tourism industry focused on sun, sea, sand and food. But greater focus is now being placed on coffee tourism. Tours include visiting a coffee plantation, learning about its history, experiencing the process of making coffee, and tasting the brew at the end of the tour.
We are now seeking to tap into the tourists that will be coming to Jamaica. So, prior to COVID, we're talking about 4.3 million tourists. I frankly believe that once we recover and we recover strongly, we could really see our tourism numbers growing. Our aim by the Jamaica Coffee Exporters Association and all our players is that every tourist that comes to Jamaica and leave our shore must leave with at least 1 bag of Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee.
Emphasis is also being placed on the promotion of coffee as a healthy beverage, as it's a rich source of antioxidants. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
In the business report, we have a story on food security, plus your regular market updates. David Rodney reports.
Speaking at the Caribbean Development Bank's 52nd meeting, President Igenos Leon says that efforts to reduce the Caribbean's food import bill must include opportunities for women.
We know historically in this region, women are disproportionately affected by food and nutrition security. As a region, we must therefore focus on building a modern, competitive, inclusive, and resilient agricultural sector in which food and nutrition security have primacy of place and the potential for wealth creation as an attraction to young agripreneurs.
President Leon revealed that the bank has begun discussions on how to mobilize and finance links between women in farming and the traditional marketplace.
In endorsing this shared vision for food security, facilitated by our current agricultural policy and strategy and integrated logistics, we have already commenced discussions with partners on mobilizing flexible and innovative financing to support this initiative. We also believe that our appraisal of the establishment of a CDB-led regional hub for the International Trade Center Global Initiative She Trades will be able to integrate more women in the regional and global agri-trade business, providing value added for women-owned agri-enterprises.
Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Friday, June 17, the US dollar sold for an average of $152.70. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $117.56. The pound sterling traded for $185.81, and the euro sold for an average of $162.69. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Friday's trading session. The JSE index declined by 324 points to close at over 300,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 80 points to close at over 4,000 units. The combined market index advanced by 423 points to close at over 300,000 units. And the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 101 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 104 stocks, of which 53 advanced, 41 declined, and 10 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Barita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were Blue Power Group Limited, Everything Fresh Limited, and I Create Limited ordinary shares. The following companies represent the overall volume leaders. JMME Group 7.25% preference shares with over 3 million units, Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial, and Fosrich Company Limited with over 2 million units. In regional stocks in Trinidad and Tobago, Clico Investment Fund was the sole security with over 5,000 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Government of Barbados Bond Series B was the volume leader with over 17,000 shares, followed by Epley Caribbean Property Fund Value Fund, which traded 10,000 shares. Strict COVID lockdowns, crackdowns on tech companies, and real estate slumps are challenging China's economic expansion, and with predictions of growth shortfall of 5.5%, the country announced the implementation of a stimulus package. Al Jazeera News has the details.
So Beijing has announced a 33-point stimulus package in an attempt to boost economic growth. The measures include loans for small businesses and airlines, cheap mortgages for first-time home buyers, and subsidies to help people buy electric cars and laptops. The plan also includes big spending on infrastructure. And China has turned to state-owned policy banks to provide more than $120 billion in funding for the projects.
In market data for oil prices were stable, although struggling to reverse last week's losses as the market balanced tightening supplies with concerns about slowing global economic growth. Brent crude were down 14 cents or 0.12% at $112.98, and West Texas Intermediate crude was up 13 cents or 0.12% at $109.69 a barrel. That was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, has tested positive for the coronavirus. That's according to an official statement. The statement by the Office of the Prime Minister said that Mottley has, quote, a mild case, and she has indicated that she's doing well. The statement further said that, quote, the doctors have advised that she will remain at home until they determine otherwise, end quote. Last week, Prime Minister Mottley, who is fully vaccinated, hosted a delegation from the International Monetary Fund, headed by the fund's managing director, Kristalina Georgieva. Motley has become the latest CARICOM leader to have tested positive for the virus that has infected and killed thousands of people in the region. Last week, St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves confirmed he had tested positive for the virus. Previously, his regional counterparts, Prime Minister of Belize John Briceño, Gaston Brown from Antigua and Barbuda, Dr. Keith Rowley from Trinidad and Tobago, and St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre had also contracted the virus. The government of Guyana will no longer require proof of COVID status for persons traveling to the country. The announcement came 1 week after the U.S. announced the removal of COVID-19 testing requirements from persons traveling to the U.S. Gordon Mosley has that story.
The Ministry of Health announced that with effect from Saturday, persons traveling to Guyana will no longer be required to provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test result. However, all travelers must show proof of being fully vaccinated against COVID-19. The move by the Ministry of Health comes as it continues to try to get more persons vaccinated against the virus as cases continue to climb. More than 86% of Guyana's adult population has received at least one shot of the COVID-19 vaccine, while 67% of the country's adult population is now fully vaccinated. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony explained the decision made by the ministry.
We felt very comfortable that we can now remove the requirement for antigen or PCR testing. However, we will still maintain for travelers into Guyana, we'll still maintain that they have to produce their vaccination cards before they're allowed on the plane. So that we still have that requirement.
Last weekend, Guyana started the vaccination of children between the ages of 5 and 11 years old. And based on the last COVID-19 report, there are more than 900 active cases of the virus in Guyana. The hospitalization rate remains very low. The pandemic has claimed more than 1,200 lives in the country since its first detection 2 years ago.
In St. Kitts and Nevis, the People's Labour Party has officially launched all 8 of its candidates in the upcoming general elections.
Hundreds of persons were in attendance at a launch and rally held at Greenlands on Saturday night. During the event, the public heard from each candidate who will be vying for a seat in each constituency. PLP political leader Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris said he was proud of his team and described them as candidates who put the people first.
The most dynamic team, the most people-oriented team, a team of humble servants who shall live with you, fight for you, and represent you to the best of their abilities.
He went on to describe the PLP as a party that welcomes all, regardless of political ties.
We are not like the old-time days where you say you are labor and me are labor for life foolishness. Life too short for that misery. We are not like them in the old-time days. Say them a pam and they want you to say as if you contract to them, me is a pam and pam now help you. None of that.
Over to the British Virgin Islands, former Premier Andrew Fahey has signed an extradition waiver that prevents him from remaining in another country if he takes flight while out on bond ahead of his trial next month. The extradition waiver was part of the conditions of Fahey's modified bail bond, which amounted to $1 million and was divided into 2 parts. The first part is a US $500,000 corporate security bond. The second is a US $500,000 personal surety bond to be co-signed by Fahey, his daughter, and a friend. The extradition waiver states that if Fahey were to flee to any country apart from the United States or its territories, the government may seek his return through an extradition process or any other means for the purpose of a trial or, if convicted, sentencing or service of sentence. Fahey was arrested on April 28 at the Miami Opa-locka airport following a sting operation related to drug smuggling and money laundering. He is scheduled to face trial on July 18 before U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams. Fahi's co-accused, former BVI Ports Authority Director Olivine Maynard and her son Kadeem were arrested on the same day on similar charges as part of the same Drug Enforcement Administration sting operation. Olivine was nabbed in Miami while her son was arrested in St. Thomas in the United States Virgin Islands. In the Bahamas, Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell has announced that the travel ban, which was placed on Haiti in February, has been scrapped. More from Our News.
According to Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell, when speaking to Our News recently, the original ban on Haiti in February was explained as a decision to block travelers for 3 weeks as Haiti celebrated Carnival. At the time, few countries in the region had begun vaccination campaigns prior to the ban. The Bahamas had regular direct flights to Haiti.
That's all scrapped and the embassy is open again in Haiti. We're going to appoint, we have, the place is fully staffed up, but we have no ambassador, and the Prime Minister will seek to appoint someone, I would guess, within the next 2 months.
In sports, the West Indies easily wrapped up the first test within the first half hour of play on the fourth day to beat Bangladesh by 7 wickets in the first test in Antigua. Needed just 35 to win overnight, John Campbell with 58 not out and his vice-captain Jermaine Blackwood, who was unbeaten on 26, got the team past a target of 84, finishing on 88 for 3. 8-time Olympic medalist Shelley-Ann Fraser-Pryce equaled the world leading time of 10.67 seconds in the women's 100 meters in Paris on Saturday, running in the main event of the Diamond League meet. Fraser-Pryce says that while the work continues, she is pleased to have met her goal of running 10.60 seconds consistently. Shelley-Ann is scheduled to compete in the 200 meters at the National Championships, which start on Thursday. As the defending 100-meter champion, she has a wild card into next month's World Athletics Championships and does not have to compete in the 100-meter. Both Fraser-Pryce and Thompson-Herah have the first and the second fastest times in the world this year, with Thompson-Herah running 10.79 in May. And that's the news on PBC Jamaica. Thanks for watching.